Item 31 is an ordinance directing the Recreation and Park Department to install in Bernal Heights Park a memorial in honor of Alex Nieto, directing other official acts in furtherance of this ordinance, waiving permit and inspection fees for the installation, and to affirm the Planning Department's CEQA determination.
Supervisor Avalos.
Thank you, President Breed. First of all, I want to thank Refugio Nieto and Elvira Nieto for being here and for their patience. Quiero agradecer. Y quiero decir gracias por su paciencia para esperar para los muchas cosas que hemos hablado aquí hoy. Thank you for waiting through all the items that we were talking about here today. Pero ahora estamos en la decisión para hacer el memorial in Bernal Heights. So I will stop with my Spanish there. So now we're going to be working on voting whether we'll have a memorial to honor their son, Alex Nieto, who lost his life on March 21st, 2014 on Bernal Heights Park. I knew Alex Nieto. I worked with him at Coleman Advocates back in 2000 and 2001. He was a youth. At that time, he was a youth at the Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center, and the executive director, Mauricio Vela, would come with Alex to Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth, where I was working at the time. And I knew Alex to be, a very young, inquisitive, and dedicated young man who was actually doing a lot of community work that was instilled to him by his parents, but also his schools in the Bernal area. And Alex was someone who really dedicated himself to education. He was working on getting his certificate, his schooling at the City College to become a youth probation officer. He was really dedicated to helping to give a lot of young people a chance to have greater opportunity and away from the streets. He was giving back to the experience that he had growing up. On that day he was shot, he was, there was a court case about that incident, and the officers who were involved were found to be exonerated by the courts, but that also did not give the sense of justice for the community who really felt Alex was gunned down with the overuse of force. And that incident and the pain that's created has had tremendous reverberations through not just Bernal Heights, but the Mission, the Excelsior, places where Alex had lived and the community he had around him. And because of that pain, there's been a huge need to find some sense of healing at this spot. There's right now currently a shrine that's there, an altar that's been created, and it's a place where Refugio and Elvira, Alex Nieto's parents, frequent so they can talk to Alex, get close to him, and also have a sense of what has transpired in this area where their son lived and where they continue to live. And I can't think of anything that would mark what San Francisco has been through in recent years, where we have seen a number of young men and women who have been gunned down by people who work for the San Francisco Police Department. Regardless of how you feel about whether there was the shootings were justified or not, we need to be able to mark that this is an experience that people have in San Francisco, that people have had in different places. And that's what this memorial is really about, is to mark this time where we've had these numerous tragedies that have really torn apart our communities and our families. And I think if we acknowledge that these incidents have happened, it brings us closer to the understanding we need to have a city that really does live up to its values. So I have been, honored to work on this ordinance. This ordinance essentially would require or direct Rec and Park to install memorial there. The memorial has not yet been designed. There have been some language that's been talked about, but the community is still going through a process to identify what the exact design will be and what language will be there. And this would have to go through the Arts Commission. If we approve this today, which I really hope we do, colleagues, this would go through the Arts Commission, which goes through their process about how to approve public art. So we see a process going through. The community has also discussed raising money themselves for the mural, for the memorial. And I do think that that could be, there could be something the city could do in the future, but the intent so far has been that the community would come together to raise in part the funds. To me, that's also a way that the community can strengthen and grow and look after members of the community can look out after one another. That is, to me, the essence of what community safety is all about and what a strong community is all about. So for me, this memorial is really about how we can bring a community together, how we can bring healing to a site where there was tremendous tragedy, and how we can bring some sense of understanding about the many losses that we've experienced in recent years when police officers use force with less discretion than they really should. As we're seeing now, we're trying to change policies around the use of force in our police department. So colleagues, with that, I would like to encourage your support. I also want to thank Supervisor Campos and his office for working on this measure. I also want to thank Jeremy Pollock for his work in my office and the community of folks that have come together across many of the recent shootings that have happened. There's a lot of folks who have come, as you can see, to back the Nietos, and thank you for doing that. This is how we show what San Francisco is all about. So with that, colleagues, I would love to have your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. Supervisor Campos.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you to Supervisor Avalos, Jeremy Pollock and his staff. I also want to thank Carolyn Kusin in my office for all the work she's done as well to put this together. And of course, to the community, especially the Nieto family, for their perseverance and their patience throughout this whole process, especialmente en agradecimiento a la familia Nieto por su paciencia en todo este proceso tan largo que ha sido. It's sort of a bittersweet day for, I think, the three of us, Supervisor Mar, Avalos, and I. It's our last meeting on the board here at the Board of Supervisors. And one of the issues that I think, leaves me with a great deal of thinking and with a heavy heart is the issue of where we are today on police reform. There are many things that remain unresolved. You have a number of cases, and Alex Nieto being one of them, that on so many different levels haven't really given a satisfactory conclusion to those cases for communities and especially for the families of the victims. One of the things that I have learned, though, through the process of being here and acknowledging just that something did happen, is how even though you can't bring back someone who fell, as Alex did at the hands of our police, that there's something to be said for just acknowledging and remembering. I think that happened with Mario Woods, and I think that the family is basically saying they want that as well. And I think in the context of everything else that we have failed to do so far, I think this is in many respects the least that we can do. And we cannot bring Alex back. And we still have to, as someone said, I think it was the bishop who said a little while ago, we need to transform the police department. We still haven't heard who our next chief is going to be. The mayor's still not acting on that, as pressing an issue as that is. Not clear what's going to happen to some of the transformation efforts in light of the Trump presidency. So there are a lot of question marks. But I think that this is sort of something minor and small, but something positive that can provide some comfort, especially for this family. I see the Nieto parents all the time. You know, I live near Bernal Hill. I run into them at the Hill. And the Hill is a special place in Bernal Heights for that whole part of the city. It is sort of a sanctuary. And actually, as the Nieto said during the community meeting we had, it was actually the one place where Alex Nieto felt safe. The one place. And the irony, of course, is that that's the one place where this incident actually happened. So I think that we have an opportunity and, quite frankly, an obligation to turn something tragic into at least something positive, something that gives us a semblance of moving forward. And that's what I think this does. And as a Bernal resident, I'm proud that this memorial will be placed and that it will be done in a way that the community can provide their 2 cents. And again, to the Nieto parents, I can't bring your son back. I'm sorry for what happened. And this is one small gesture to say that we are with you, we're thinking of you, and that we want to heal with you together. A la familia Nieto, no puedo traer a su hijo. No podemos cambiar lo que ocurrió, pero es una forma, un gesto pequeño, pero importante para decirles que queremos sanar con ustedes y a ver cómo podemos, como comunidad, salir adelante juntos. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Campos. Supervisor Farrell.
Thank you, President Breed. And I want to first acknowledge Supervisor Avalos' intent here. I know he's spoken about this quite a bit since time on the board. Suffice to say, I'm incredibly sorry for the loss for community, in particular for the parents. Any tragedy like this is horrific, but I cannot support this ordinance today. Most importantly, because in my mind, what this message...
I want to ask members of the public, I know this is an emotional topic, but I would ask that you respect our process and allow us to continue. There will be a vote on this matter, and there are some members who will have a difference of opinion. I ask that you allow members of the board to express their opinion. As you know, their applause and booing and support or opposition is prohibited in the chamber. So please allow us an opportunity to have the discussion and get through this. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you, President Breed. And most importantly for me, because of the message that it's sending to the men and women of our police department who put their lives on the line for us every single day here in San Francisco, that our board at this point is more concerned about honoring those that have fallen and been killed by police officers for various reasons, but in turn we do not recognize those police officers.
Excuse me just a second. If the outbursts continue to persist, unfortunately, I will have to recess the meeting. So I'm just asking members of the public, again, out of respect for the family who is here today, can you please allow us to continue to move forward with this? And if you want to support words that are being said, just wave your hands. If you oppose anything, please just use the thumbs down, and we will see you. Thank you. Supervisor Farrell.
Thank you, President Breed. But as I was saying, in turn, we don't recognize the police officers that have been killed or injured in the line of duty protecting us as residents. Many fallen officers over the past few years come to mind. Even earlier this year, Officer Downs was shot in the head. Nothing was talked about. These are San Francisco residents and people that literally risk their lives every single day to protect the residents of San Francisco. In the midst of all of our heated debates, which I appreciate and is fair game, but over the past year, somehow I think we've lost sight of that. We've forgotten the debt that we owe to these men and women, and someone needs to stand up for them. Someone needs to speak for them. And I am not talking about the POA or any other group involved in this debate. But for me, among other things, it's the people I grew up with here in San Francisco who have been part of our police, fire, and sheriff's departments for years. Those that I see on the weekends at our kids' soccer games and have been part of San Francisco and the fabric of our city for generations. And those men and women in our public safety departments who moved to San Francisco because they believed in public service and they believed in a career in public safety and have dedicated their own careers to protect us. My vote is for them.
Thank you, Supervisor Farrell. Supervisor Cohen.
Thank you. What's really scary and is unfortunate is that we cannot honor a loss of life, period. A loss of life is a loss, period, whether it's a law enforcement or whether it's a community person. And I think it's incredibly disingenuous and alarming that you can't support something, you can't be one way without being fearful of being called racist or misinterpreting your actions that you're only on one side. The reality is if law enforcement, if anyone wants to be recognized, all they have to do is ask. The same way the community has made an ask. And this is the first time. So, you know, one thing that's made me uncomfortable about this particular ask was that how do we honor and uplift Alex Nieto without putting a shadow on other members who we've lost along the way? Because Alex isn't the only one. Alex wasn't even the last one. But it was the community that organized and have made this ask. It's a humble ask. It's not too much to ask for. And I would be happy to sponsor something for the POA, happy to sponsor something for the firefighters. This is not a us or them. It doesn't have to be that simple. It doesn't have to be gray, or black and white and just so straight and cut dry. This is an opportunity for us to come together. This should be healing. This should be bringing peace. Instead, this kind of conversation is tearing us apart. We need a national day of remembrance to remember everybody that has died one way or the other. For every officer that is shot in the head or killed, their life matters. It's terrible. It's violence. That's what we need to be standing up and remembering, how violence touches everyone. I'm going to be supporting this memorial, and I'm going to be supporting a future memorial should any one of my colleagues want to bring for law enforcement, because every life does matter. And I don't say that to negate the black or brown community in the struggle, because that is very real. That is very real. But we can honor Alex. Alex represents many men and women that have died. It's not just about Alex Nieto. And to be fair, law enforcement has their private ceremonies and memorials that they conduct for those officers that they have lost in the line of duty. The Bayview Station in particular has an annual one where they get together for a soul that was lost several years ago in the line of duty. So come on, this is tearing us apart, and it needs to be building us together. This is pain that binds us. This is hurt that binds us. This is love. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Supervisor Cohen. Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, first of all, when a police officer is shot or killed, we as members of the Board of Supervisors, I think each and every one of us go to that funeral. I was at Isaac Espinosa's funeral. When Officer Kevin Downs was shot, I drove out there at 11 o'clock at night to San Francisco General Hospital and said hi to his father, Phil Downs, who was a Central Station officer. These are not mutually exclusive things. I think that when we get in this dynamic that we cannot honor a citizen of San Francisco who was tragically killed in a hail of bullets, that plays into this whole mentality that is at the root of the problem. I mean, I think that we need to have a society where we can honor the working men and women of the police department and the dangers that they face, and we can honor members of our community who are tragically killed. These are not mutually exclusive things. As a matter of fact, I think they benefit one another. I think that when the Police Officers Association knows that we take the loss of life of one of our citizens as seriously as we take the loss of life of one of our officers, that sends a powerful message. So I don't think we should go back to the old day dynamics of we can't honor this individual because it somehow disrespects the police. That's just fundamentally not true.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin. Supervisor Campos.
You know, I respect everyone's views. And I think what's painful about what I just heard is that the argument about how supporting or, you know, remembering someone who died in an incident involving the police is disrespectful to the police officers in the department is an argument that was actually made in the case of a day for Mario Woods. I mean, we heard that precisely from the POA. And at that point, we responded by saying, we respectfully disagree. We don't think that they are mutually exclusive. And we are prepared and ready if there is any need or desire to recognize the contributions of any police officer to do that. And, you know, we said to the POA, our doors are open. Tell us, what is it that we're not doing? And we specifically rejected that false choice. And having done that and actually established a precedent for recognizing the memory of someone who fell out of an incident, what does it say to the family that we're willing to do that with one person but not another? If that argument is the argument that we were going to follow, we should have followed it before. But I think that it's kind of painful, actually. Doesn't matter that this person, you know, comes from where they come from. I mean, it's actually very painful, and I think it's very unfortunate. And I think that to the POA, I would say, you know, as I've said since I've been on the, you know, when I was on the police commission, you don't serve your members well when you try to make that false choice. It is not mutually exclusive. We can honor the men and women of the police department and still recognize the memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Campos. Seeing no names on the roster on the item, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
On item 31, Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Avalos.
Aye.
Avalos, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos. Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, no. Supervisor Kim.
Aye.
Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. There are 9 ayes and 1 no with Supervisor Farrell in the dissent.
This item passes on the first reading. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here, and congratulations. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you. Come on. Thank you, Supervisors. If you would like to come up.